So I am going to introduce, do a drum roll, the one, the only, the most amazing construction coach, Maria Coulter, who has said, you bet, I'll turn up and have a chat to Rebecca about the Building People adventure and journey. But actually, we've had no conversation as to what the podcast is going to look like. So thank you for being your usual self and being so open, willing, and just amazing. I thought I might remind you when we first met. Do you remember when we first met?
I do. So my recollection was, it was probably like this time 6 years ago, not long after I'd started my business. It was a CITB conference or something.
I think it was, yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm drawn back to you helping me. I was going through a tough time in a role I was in, and I was trying to extricate myself in the most professional and happy way. And you were just so giving. You just gave me your time to help coach me through what should I do. And you're one of the first people, Maria, that I spoke to about this idea for building people. And I've always seen you as just a code dot joiner, trying to change the industry one dot at a time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think, what's been great about the journey that we've been through is we have sort of built this great network, haven't we, where there's quite a few of us in the industry who are supporting each other on each other's journey, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think it's almost like we're like magnets, and we just attract like-minded magnets.
Mm.
A bad analogy for the scientists out.
Know what you meant.
Yeah, it's not me at all. Because I remember our conversation was, I really wanted to do this. I wanted to create this one place that just brings together all of the fragmented information. And your focus has always been quite strongly on the SME side. And I think what's interesting is your background as a surveyor, and now Building People Prototype focused on surveying. And we're now starting to look at how we can support small businesses. Your focus is SME. So seeing as I've done a terrible job of introducing you, I've just gone straight into the drum roll. do the construction coach introduction, please, Maria Coulter.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So what's ironic about the conversation? Well, ironic probably isn't the word. But yeah, so yesterday, construction coach was 6 years old.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the journey started back in the last recession when I was working as a project manager. So as you said, I'm a surveyor by profession, chartered QS, and worked as a project manager as well. And about the time of the last recession, I think I was seeing so much negativity, a lot of fear, people being driven by money, not treating each other very well. Like I didn't feel valued where I was, and I saw other people not feeling valued as well. I saw, the pressure that subcontractors were under and contractors and all sorts of things like that. And that kind of led me to being coached myself. And then I just loved that process so much. I made the decision to take some time out of my job, sort of do it, take holiday and things like that and train to be a coach. And then I started coaching a bit sort of in the workplace where I was at. But then I think the calling just got so great because I kind of felt like there was some mission out there for me to sort of bring change to the industry.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I knew I was destined to do, stuff to bring change. But like you kind of think, well, I'm just a project manager. How am I going to do stuff like that? But then I think the calling got so great. It was like, well, if I don't do this now, I'll never do it. I'll regret it forever.
Yeah. That must be why we clicked, because I think we must have both met at that time of there's a calling. And I keep saying to myself, why have I chosen to try and change the industry and to make it more collaborative? One of the hardest industries to use the C word in, collaboration. Yes. And what is it? What drives me? And I've been filming for our crowdfunding, which goes live next week. And I did about 58 takes. And I was trying to come in, this is me, this is who I am, this is why we're doing this, this is how you can get involved, all in 1 minute. But I was thinking my background, I started off in the homelessness sector, then in the humanitarian aid, accidentally in construction, but I've always been driven by this desire just to make things better, just to make a difference. And it's incredibly hard. But I think when there's more than one of us, so there's a lot of people now. And what I love, I did last night, I did a workshop with CIOB Novus talking about dissertations. And the conversation was, sort of about what one bit of advice would you give? And I was just thinking, these people, they are so impressive. They're coming up the ranks and they are young. And I just said about having the confidence, because it's taken me 20 years in industry to have the confidence that actually I do know what I'm talking about, as do you. That was a bit of a long monologue there. I had to get that one off my chest.
That's right, though.
No, go on.
No, because I remember that was the conversation that we had. It was like, you've got to follow your passion. You've got to follow your dreams, basically.
Yes, that was right. Because when you were coaching me to be able to move on from this really stuck place and really miserable place to where we are today. And what we're running next week, these culture change sessions in partnership with UK Construction Week and one of our events. I like to think together there's enough of us really wanting change. And I think most of the industry does want change. We're just so entrenched in how we do things. What do you think is the biggest barrier to actually changing this industry for the better?
I think it is mindset. I think it is kind of the culture that we've kind of, generated through years and years of certain behaviours, and, like the whole kind of boom and bust culture that we've got, the fact that there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of people then just not making enough profit out of it. Fear drives negative behaviours. People don't value themselves enough, people working in the industry don't value themselves enough about what they do. We are a commodity, so people just look at us and think, well, we'll just go for the cheapest, because people aren't getting the messages across about, how great they are, their values as a business, and probably because they've not necessarily done that work either. There's a lot of people in the business who love what they do and they're passionate about it, but they don't necessarily articulate that.
Yes.
And I think mindset is just a massive barrier. Like when I start working with people, that they're sort of generally that they've had enough of the situation that they're in, they're stressed, and they're in a bit of a lack mentality, thinking, well, I can't see how this is going to change. So I think, and that's where like my ethos in construction coach is about the construction revolution. It's about doing things differently. It's about looking outside of the industry to what other people are doing. How can we bring in fresh ideas and perspectives and just think outside the box a little bit more?
One thing I admire about you is you're very open. So you do a lot of recording, speaking to camera, and I kind of thought, well, I never realised how hard it was until I was doing it yesterday. So I did my first recording. And, I was speaking for about 5 minutes. I managed to get down to 2 minutes, and I was thrilled. Sent it off, came straight back. The lighting was terrible. I was speaking for far too long. But I do feel when I speak that I sort of have to. I painted my wall just because I wanted to project that this is this is proper. But I do feel I need to sort of put on a bit of a smart outfit and chuck a bit of lippy on. And you really managed to project a very open, sort of welcoming, inclusive, and you share stuff as well. And I think I admire you for that. Did it take a while to get there, or have you just always been very naturally good at just sticking it out for the world to see?
No, it took a while. I mean, I'd say that in all honesty, marketing for quite a long time was definitely like one of my biggest like Achilles heels about like getting myself out there, because I'd be like, well, people might not want to listen. They might think, well, who's she? What's she going on about? And I found that I was better at like talking about and publicizing the stuff that I was doing for free, like, with the volunteer roles that I've got in the industry and stuff, rather than what my core business actually is.
Yeah.
And I think it's only sort of, probably in the last sort of 12 months that I've gotten a lot better about really, getting those messages out there. So, no, it took me a while to like get the courage up to actually get on video. And I think it's just, you know, it is something that I do love kind of like interviewing people. And I did a television presenting one day course at Pinewood Studios.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Like, so another thing that kind of got me into this as well was that so Steve Redgrave was an ambassador for the company that I used to work for. And I got it in my mind that I wanted to interview him. I wanted to do a filmed interview with him. And I wanted it to go on like the training and development website. And I wanted to draw down the analogies between kind of business and sports and things like that. And it happened. So I did do this filmed interview with him, and I really, really enjoyed the process. I loved like the research. I loved, you know, like I did it proper. You know, I gave it my best Steph McGovern, and I, you know, did all the research and all of that. But I felt like when I watched myself back, I was like, oh God, you're hunching your back over. You've got bangles on that are jangling. You know, you clearly haven't got the, you know, the vibe going on. And anyway, I found this Groupon, right? A Groupon to do a television presenting course at Pinewood Studios. And it was something like 30 quid. So I got to go to Pinewood Studios, and it was when they were starting to film the next series of Star Wars as well. And it was just like so exciting doing that. And I mean, gosh, like it was funny, you know, but it was a great experience. And it got me into that kind of really liking the idea of interviewing people and creating sort of videos and getting messages out there, because I think it is a great platform, really.
Oh, it is. And do you know, I did similar, but at the Royal Academy of Drama and Art, or RADA, and I paid a silly amount of money, and just, yeah, out of my money. But I for years, I was really scared of public speaking. I felt it was in me. My dad used to be the mayor of our city, and so I sort of grown up with this public speaking and thing, and I sort of knew I could do it, but I'd get to the stage and the nerves would just kick in, because deep down I didn't feel confident, and that was it. And I think I was talking to I think it's to Amanda Clack in the last podcast, and I was talking about how I've been in the industry all these years, but I'm not a surveyor, I'm not an electrician, you know, I don't have that trade profession background. I've got a master's in urban regeneration, but I felt a fraud for years. And then I got to the point where actually I realized there's I don't know anybody like me, you know, that knows this world inside out, of all the providers that work with diverse audiences, that knows those who, you know, want to make change in diversity and inclusion. So I paid to do this, I think it's a 2-day course at RADA in London. And with this one bit where we had to read out, I have a dream. And I nailed it. And everybody's like, oh gosh, you know, why are you on this course? And I thought, actually, I can do it. It's just, I believed in what he was saying, and I just inhabited his, I don't have that lived experience, but I believed in his words, and that emotion came across. And then after that, I just thought, you know what, I've got this. And why am I being so silly about this lack of confidence? And then I realized it's actually about the audience, and realizing they're just people. They're just people who, most of them are probably quite bored by what I'm saying. So I should be more lively. Never swear.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you say, though. I mean, you know, I had a really bad experience when I was training to be a surveyor. I totally dried up when I was speaking, but I think it was because I hadn't prepared enough. But going back to what you were saying about the confidence and the fraud thing, I think the most important thing that I've learned is you've got to back yourself.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's why with you, you know, your passion comes across, because you really believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like, and you've got to back yourself, because, you know, you've got to drive yourself, you've got to motivate yourself, you've got to, like, when you're, you know, you've had enough one day and like you just want to collapse in a heap, you've got to pick yourself up. That's the life of an entrepreneur, isn't it? It's like, you know, you've got to have that mindset to keep going.
You're right. Yeah, you're
you
right.
know.
And we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't passionate. So yeah, like you, I don't work 9 to 5 days a week. I work, feels like 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm living, breathing, thinking it. And I could talk to you for hours about this. I make every guest a promise that we'll do these nice and short so that people can watch them or listen while having a quick cup of tea, or I've got my packet of hobnobs I've just actually hidden before talking to you so I wouldn't.
I've already had 3 Jaffa cakes today, so I think
I just had 6 hobnobs, just far too greedy. Let's wrap up. So in building people, our role is to bring people together, to make industry to make it more efficient, to make it work better with this D&I focus. And your role is part of building people, as I see it, is to be absolutely yourself and to keep doing what you're doing, because you give us so much support just by everything. How do you see building people in through your lens? What's the value to it that it will hopefully bring to you, your community you work with?
I think what I've always loved about it is that concept of joining the dots, like the fact that we are as an industry really fragmented, and people don't know what's going on in other pockets of it. And I always try to connect people, and, having something like building people to point people to, I think is just awesome. I mean, it's a simple concept, but why haven't we ever done it? And still we are fragmented. And I think that's why, the work that I've been doing with the Construction Industry Council, with the Roadmap for Change as well, sort of chairing their diversity and inclusion panel, that's why we wanted to use the same platform that you use for building people. So we've got access to all of that amazing data as well. And we're sort of trying to join the dots as to what's happening with sort of diversity and inclusion and things like that. So people can find everything, because if you try and search for stuff, I think the penny really dropped with me recently was when we were trying to pull the content together for the Roadmap for Change, doing research on the key themes like leadership and things like that. It's really hard to find like good stuff about the construction industry on leadership, for example. And I think the reason why is because for you to find something, it needs search engine optimization. Like if you've got a website as a business, you've got to constantly be putting great content on there for people to be able to find it and for you to move up the ranks. Like when I was searching for stuff on leadership, I was finding papers from like 2003 that were on page 1, because people aren't really publicizing what they do either, because they fear that other people are going to steal their ideas. So they're not sort of being open and getting messages out there about what they're doing, because they kind of feel like it's their PI, it's their sort of collateral, whatever you want to call it. And so that's one of the obstacles that we've got. But having something like Building People, it's kind of bringing all of that together, I think is going to be a fantastic resource for the industry.
Yeah, and you're so right. The whole Roadmap for Change is just that. I mean, that's the second example of somebody white labeling what we've created, but then joining in with the underpinning.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week at Ends. Looking forward to it. We better get this wrapped up and pushed out across the social media world so everybody else can join into. But Maria, thank you. Always put your phone on mute when you.
That was your phone telling you needed to wrap up as well. So.
Exactly. Yes, I planned that one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great rest of the day. All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye bye.